Hey everyone, it's Daniel Elwood and Robert Johnson, The Last Nighters. And The Last Nighters is part of the Launchpad Media, where they're always launching new ideas in your direction. Check it out at thelaunchpadmedia.com. This is going to be episode 67 of the show. You can find the show notes more at lastnighters.com/67. We are going to be talking about Dodgeball tonight, the Vince Vaughn mid-aughts classic, where they go balls deep into a, kind of an interesting sort of story. But I think we're going to have a lot of fun stuff to talk about with our guest who actually suggested this movie. He is Tyler. Tyler, welcome to the show, and maybe give us a 30-second elevator pitch on who you are, where you're from, anything else you want us to know, and how did you find our show, by the way?
Hi, I'm Tyler, and I work out here in the middle of nowhere in an oil rig and listen to a lot of podcasts, and I typed in anarchist podcast into the podcast app because I was bored, and I started listening, and I liked the concept. When I was in college, they would have us critique things through social lenses. Thought nobody's ever done this through anarchism, and that's why I'm here.
Wow, that's cool. So the name change that we did a few years back must have helped, because we were originally called the Read Roth Podcast, then we rebranded to Actual Anarchy Podcast, and then we launched The Last Nighters. So
yeah.
So now we're sort of found in a bunch of different keywords, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because I would never really define myself as a capitalist on that level. I mean, I think you picked up a broad spectrum that way.
All right, yeah. And that's another thing that I wanted to ask you about, because during our chats, you and I, you mentioned that you might have had some anarcho-communist leanings in the past, and that you're a little bit different now.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I thought I was being, edgy by leaning left, and then realized, no, that's probably what was expected of me. And then kind of got more interaction with the left, I guess, as these past few years have kind of linked themselves out, and realized that probably isn't the model I want to go for. And so now I'm just kind of dead center, socially just in the middle, but economically sway between.
All right, interesting. Well, hopefully we can push you our direction a little bit. We'll see during this.
Voluntarily.
Yes, voluntarily. We use argumentation.
Yeah.
All right. So, Robert, any comments so far before we get into the Google description on Dodgeball?
No, let's move on to this thing.
All right. Sounds good. So, Dodgeball, 2004, a true underdog story. 1 hour, 32 minutes, 6.7 on the IMDb, 70% Rotten Tomatoes, and 55% on Metacritic. However, 90% of Google users like it. The description is: Average Joe's Gym and its owner, Peter LaFleur, played by Vince Vaughn, are both down on their luck. A fancy competing gym called Globo Gym, run by the maniacal, as a person I know from the past would say. It was kind of a funny way of saying it. A maniacal health nut, White Goodman, played by Ben Stiller, is about to put Average Joe's out of business unless Peter can raise $50,000 to keep his mortgage. To save the gym, Peter and a ragtag group of Average Joe's members and employees enter a dodgeball contest with a big cash prize. In response, White forms his own Globo Gym team to rout the competition. Came out on June 18, 2004. Directors Ross and Marshall Thurber. Box office of $167.7 million. So I think it did fairly well. Don't know what the budget was, but I can't imagine they spent nearly that much money making this thing. Robert, your thoughts so far, then we'll go to Tyler.
Oh, it's a fun little movie. I had fond memories of it, and it aged about as well as I thought. I mean, it doesn't have any special stuff other than its kind of style of humor, which I think they don't really do anymore. But other than that, it's a perfectly enjoyable little comedy. I don't know.
Yeah, I while watching it thought this was a movie they could not make with that type of humor anymore without getting the outrage mob all riled up.
Right. Yeah, this is definitely something pre-Twitter.
Yeah, the Twitterati would not stand for this misogynist, patriarchal, bat-shaming / ableist type of movie, I think.
Right.
Tyler, your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, kind of picked an average, but that's because that's what they play out here on the DirecTV. So, yeah, and it was weird that it's not super dated like others, pre-2008. But I think it kind of fits the theme with what you're talking, societal things. But it's still funny today if you're sitting around.
Yeah, and I do enjoy the lines that have transcended the movie that people just use in their daily life. I was listening to the radio today, and I heard that it's a bold strategy, Cotton. It's something that has transcended the film. It's cool, and I've always enjoyed that nobody makes me bleed my own bloodline. It's just a fantastic line that I've always enjoyed. So there's a lot of good stuff in this. I don't know who wrote this one, Daniel.
I had the director's name of let's see here.
He's just a regular guy. He's not like a big name.
Yeah, Ross and Marshall Thurber said screenplay by him as well. So yeah, not someone I've heard of since.
All right. Well, where do you want to take this one? I'm sure there's some issues we want to talk about here.
Yeah, Tyler. So what was the impetus for this recommendation? You said that you thought you saw some themes in here that were worthy of discussion, and what are they? And then we'll dig into that.
Yeah, well, I mean, my main thought was kind of just the absence of the state throughout the film. And there really is a sense of two conflicting corporations or businesses. They said it's a publicly traded, and then you've got, it's kind of a private owned gym. They have conflict. It's financial, and third party arbitration comes in, right? It's no dodgeball tournament open kind of thing. Everything resolves itself, for the quote unquote good guys in the end. So, I just thought that was a pleasant way of it all working out, as opposed to what is it most people think Mad Max as the anarchist model.
Yeah, this is two people settling their differences in a peaceful, voluntary way, which I do absolutely appreciate. Although I have to worry about the future of the Globo Gym Corporation now that Vince Vaughn is running it, because he's clearly a terrible businessman. Whereas even though Ben Stiller's a shitty guy, clearly he knows what he's doing in terms of running a business.
Yeah, I was going to say that's almost kind of his character arc, is that he has to overcome his laziness to find himself to run a successful, even though it's his friends helping him the entire way. And he wants to quit.
Right, he wants to quit the entire movie. He wants nothing to do with this. He's like, nah, pack it in. I don't care. Shut it down. Shut it all down. Everybody else is like, oh, come on, guy. We can do this. He's like, no. So yeah, they're just dragging him, kicking and screaming the whole movie.
Yeah. It could have been an inheritance, it could have been his friend's gym. How some people assume that people who have business, that they're successful, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just...
Yeah. It was weird that, Vince Vaughn never really seemed to want to be there, which is just a weird thing. If you're a small business owner, generally you are interested in the business. But yeah, like you said, maybe it was an inheritance, or who knows how he came about.
Yeah, they don't get into the history with Vince Vaughn in this movie as far as how he gets the gym, just that he runs it rather poorly and doesn't even collect any membership fees for like 13 months or something like that, according to the banker lady. But with Globo Gym, White Goodman, he inherited the money, and he does this whole, I pulled myself up by the bootstraps and inherited money from my father and opened this gym and made it the most successful gym out there. And I couldn't help but think that he is a caricature of the kind of greedy capitalist, like how he's written in the movie, in his name, White Goodman, but he's like this narcissistic, greedy, rude asshole who is spouting off things like, oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, work really hard, I wrestle the bull by the horns, that kind of a thing. But then he lets slip that he inherited his money. So it really seems like it's not meant to like cast a capitalist type person in a positive light here.
No, yeah, you're right. It's the capitalist Goodman versus the Vince Vaughn character, who is, I don't even know how you characterize him, but definitely, I mean, he's not like looking to use the state in any way, so I wouldn't necessarily call him like a socialist of any kind, but it definitely doesn't, cast... I mean, he's definitely painted as the good guy, as if like, yeah, you can come to my gym, don't worry about your fees, we'll work something out. You can pay me when you get the money, Mr. Pirate Guy. It's all good. Wherein, that would still happen under, I mean, he's obviously still a capitalist. He's just, really laid back guy that doesn't really care to see his business succeed.
Or pay his mortgage, apparently.
Now, I had to say that the conflict in the movie is a little bit manufactured, right? I mean, I don't see the desire for Goodman to buy Average Joe's other than to remove it as an eyesore, like to improve the property value of his own business. Because I know he wants to build like a parking lot, but they don't establish that, he's running out of parking lot room, but whatever. It's still, it's okay.
He's definitely the caricature of your typical.
Yeah.
I did enjoy his opening infomercial where he says, I'm White Goodman of Globo Gym, and fatness and ugliness are genetic disorders, much like baldness and necrophilia, among other things. But, he was saying like pretty much everything that you could think of that was super offensive back in 2004, but you could still say, and now you could not say, even though I just said them. So
unless you're AnarchoChristian, because they do say we're better than you and we know it.
Oh, yeah. He does say that. Yeah. And, it is almost tax day here in the United States. And there is one mention of that when Vince Vaughn first gets back into the gym. he talks to the super nerdy guy at the front desk, and he says, "How's my little tax shelter doing?"
What?
Yeah, wait, what?
You didn't hear this?
No.
I don't remember this at all.
As soon as he walks in to his gym, he says hi to the guy who ends up liking the Eastern European girl from
Vince Vaughn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn says, "How's my little tax shelter doing?"
Okay, so insinuating that it's not supposed to be a successful business, and he's just using it to launder money through.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, small business in general is seen often, I think, in the parlance of the times, as a way of mitigating the amount of taxes that you pay, because you can write a lot of stuff off.
Correct. Yes, you can.
Maybe it's a front, because I do know some small business that don't really care if it succeeds on paper.
Right.
Well, I actually have this working theory that there are far more small businesses built solely for the purpose of avoiding taxes than there otherwise would be. I mean, I think without regulations and without taxes, there would be far more businesses. There'd be far more prosperity, and people would not need licenses and permits to do things. So there'd be a lot more flourishing and a better standard of living for everyone in general terms. But because of the tax structure that we have and the regulations that we have, that because there are some ways of navigating the various loopholes and things like that are available to people, that there are businesses, like you just said, that are pretty much just entities on paper to qualify people for those tax avoidance, those legal tax avoidance kind of situations.
Yeah, have proof.
Right. And not that they're going concerns or that they're even like attempting to provide value for others and grow the business per se. They're just using it as a way to shield some of their income from other sources from being expropriated from them.
Yeah, well, I mean, making money, it's kind of a game. It's almost like an arms race where one person comes up with one thing and we'll come up with when you put new rules in to find.
Any way you can get away from contributing money to the mass murderers known as the government, I'm all for. Yeah. Bless your hearts.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think only 20% of the money that they take in that is intended for a specific like program, to help the poor or build the roads or whatever, only about 20% of that money actually makes it to that end use, and 70 to 80% of it is eaten up with waste and graft and corruption. So, it's a good little system we got going here. It's a good little system.
So, Daniel, what did you think of White Goodman when he tells one of his employees to add 3 pounds to the scales in the women's locker room?
I think that was a fraudulent thing. That is a dishonest thing. And he's doing that to, it's sort of, what do they call it? Tipping the scales, where you put your thumb on the scale so you can charge more for something.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's trying to give them a reason to keep going to the gym, keep their membership there because they can't lose that last 3 pounds or whatever.
Yes.
He definitely cheats a lot in this.
Yeah, he seems to have no deference for any kind of fair play. Like he uses his connections with the Dodgeball League in order to get into the tournament.
Even his team players. I mean, he brought in a Dodgeball champion, Czechoslovakia or something.
Yeah, they're all ringers.
Yeah, Laser and Blazer and Donner and Blitzen and
Pierre
and Michel.
Oh, Michel.
Michel is like his personal manservant. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that. I don't know. But I mean, he literally was, right? He was doing White's
snap of a finger.
Every bidding, yeah. He was quite good. He was on top of it. Like even when White went to what was the girl's name? Christine Taylor, her character.
Kate.
Kate. He went to her house to woo her, wearing his like white leather suit. And this would probably be problematic today with how he was aggressively pursuing her, and she was telling him to leave, and then Vince Vaughn shows up and was like, "The lady asked you to leave her property." So I felt that was like a really good example of property rights at play there. But when White was leaving, he snapped his fingers, and Michel pulls up immediately on his little scooter.
Yeah, doesn't step in when he gets hit too, because he knows that's not his place. But at the snap.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So Robert.
Yeah, buddy.
You mentioned some of the quotes and some of the things that have lived on. Why don't we go through some of them? Because I have a feeling that a lot of the quotes live on more so than the movie will. Like It's a Bold Strategy, Cotton, or even some of the gifts like the Chuck Norris thumbs up. And a few other of the cameos are, I think, prevalent when you do your your gifting on the old Facebook and the Twitter.
Okay, so by far for me, the funniest cameo was Lance Armstrong.
In hindsight, definitely, yeah, because he's so serious. He's like, well, I didn't give up when I had testicular brain and lung cancer all at the same time. I fought through that and I won the Tour de France 5 times in a row.
But yeah, go ahead. You're definitely not going to regret this decision. It's just great. You're really needling it in.
Yeah, and then what was it, like 2 years later? It's revealed that he's been juicing.
Yeah, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah. Now, this could be an interesting line of discussion here because like all these anti-doping things, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Lance Armstrong, several others like PEDs and all this stuff. I mean, sure, the rules should be up to the league or whoever. But like with the baseball one, didn't Congress get involved and famously bring Roger Clemens and Rafael Palmeiro into questioning, and they were like denying it up and down. But what business is it of theirs? I mean, if I want to start a league and I'm like, hey, this is the Juice Baseball League, and you're going to see guys jack home runs like crazy, much more exciting than Major League Baseball, those, those teetotalers over there.
Those noodle-armed little pansies.
Right. I mean, like, if I create that league, like, what's the problem with that? I mean, people are going to be upset,
but who has the right to come in and stop you from doing that?
Right. Especially if it's a totally voluntary thing. Like these guys are voluntarily choosing to do this so that they can have peak performance levels that is going to provide a better product out for the viewers. It's going to draw more entertainment value and more revenue than the alternative because there's going to be a lot more excitement.
Right. And people complain that these people, the athletes don't understand that there could be long-term effects and they're damaging their bodies in the long run. And I completely disagree. I think every athlete understands that they are trading current, their long-term health for current fame and fortune and success. It was like Richard Sherman when he was playing football for the Seattle Seahawks. He's like, I couldn't tell you how many times I felt dizzy and saw stars on the field playing in the games. And I know that's brain damage. I got back up and played.
Yeah, and that's just from being hit. But I mean, you're basically equating that they know they're taking certain risks, and juicing would be another one of those risks that would have an additional layer of potential consequences.
Yeah, and there's there is precedent for this. There are plenty of places, and you could say that Russia, China, whatever, they kind of made a sport out of it in the Olympics, by the way, for like the Russians especially. They've long been known as like big dopers, but everybody dopes. But specifically in MMA, there's an organization called Pride in Japan. It doesn't exist anymore, but while it did exist, they were almost encouraging every one of their fighters to juice because it made for a more exciting match. It made for a more impressive poster, more impressive promo materials. When the guy's walking out looking totally jacked and you got another jacked guy on the other side, they're going to totally duke it out. It's just a more impressive thing and it draws more eyeballs. And who are you to say that they can't do that?
Yeah, no, I do think that they probably are not only introducing additional risk, but also, earlier death. Like how many famous wrestlers have died at a relatively young age? And, they're all...
Almost all of them.
Yeah, WWF. I mean, they're TV wrestlers, but yeah.
But yeah, they're juicing. And I know Ultimate Warrior, there was a big to-do about him back in I think the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, he was so ripped, so ridiculously like bulky and cut. And then he got suspended, I think, for steroids maybe. And he came back maybe a year or two later and he was visibly a smaller guy, significantly smaller.
Yeah, it does. You shrink for sure. And it's quite obvious when you stop exercising, working out all the time, and you stop the juice. Yeah, you just people aren't that big naturally. I mean, there are big people, but you don't look like a blown up beach ball just naturally. But so what? They're obviously. I mean, have you seen the videos of these guys down in Brazil who are injecting? I think it's like mineral water or mineral oil of some kind straight into their muscles. They'll just inject it, and so they look like some kind of mutant experiment gone wrong. Right. So because they're injecting it just needles by themselves and it's, kind of dangerous. It can cause problems and issues and, lead to anyway, but they're doing it themselves. So they're kind of like, yeah, I think I'll put some here and then put a little bit there. And, and they just look like lopsided and weird. And they got these big giant balloon arms, but then they got these little legs. It's something to see.
It's always just in the biceps. That's what I was going to say. When they put that saline in.
Yeah. What's up with that? You got to average it out, man. Otherwise, you're just going to look like a cartoon.
Now, what is the point of this, though? Because they're not like any stronger. In fact, I would imagine they are weaker as a result of doing this.
Well, they are also exercising, so they are generally getting stronger. But yeah, they're getting the results that you can't just get, through a lot of effort and hard work and whatever. I mean, you would have to super be Mr. Major Bodybuilder guy. And plus, there's still a plateau in terms of your DNA. But with this straight injection, you can, look like some kind of superhero out of a comic book. But man, you got to really know what you're doing. I don't know. The video I watched, all the doctors were going, this is a really bad idea. But anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know. Who am I to say they can't do it?
And where'd they get that idea? Like from the grocery store, like the chicken that you buy at the grocery store is all pumped up, to have higher weight and charge more. Put their thumb on the scale. It's White Goodman's chicken. That's what it is. All right, we're tying this all back together.
Nicely done, Daniel.
All right, so let's talk about their very first match, their qualifying match to get into this Las Vegas tournament, which seems bizarre that you have one match and then you're in the finals. Or the March Madness style, like round of 24 or 32 or whatever it was.
It's a small sport. It's a startup.
Yeah, it's a startup. It's like the XFL or whatever the most recent new version of football was. That
the AAFL that just crashed and died.
Yeah, it lasted for like 2 weeks.
It's only on the 8th ESPN channel too.
Yeah, it's on the Ocho.
Yeah,
which I do love that. But they play these Girl Scouts, and it's kind of funny now because the Girl Scouts would want to be the Boy Scouts now or something like that. Like there's a joke there that they were maybe 10 years too early on in this movie, that had they had today's ideas, they could have really capitalized on. But one of the players on there, whoa, we're blowing up.
Sorry, somebody's calling. Okay.
All right. So one of the girls on the
Girl team, the Girl Scouts is all juiced.
Yeah, she's all jacked up on the juice and beaver tranquilizers. Makes her arms like super hairy as well. But that's what throws the match towards the average Joe's guys, even though they get handily defeated by these women, by these girls.
Yeah. I don't know how realistic it was. It was played for decent laughs. I don't know.
I mean, the Girl Scouts are a coordinated team. Average Joe's had no training, so maybe it's somewhat believable. Extent of it's team tactics. I don't know how much team tactics in the Girl Scouts.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but in the NFL, I mean, the least athletic team for the past 15 years has consistently dominated through superior tactics and preparation. The New England Patriots. That team is by far probably not that there's a huge gap athletically between any one team and another, but I'd probably put them at the bottom athletically in the entire NFL, and yet they dominate and win the Super Bowl almost every year because you can't out-coach Bill Belichick. So yeah, you're going to take a team, which is why, back when the Dream Team came out for the US, at first they dominated, but they're vulnerable. They were vulnerable and they lost. I don't know if the original Dream Team lost, but since then, the Dream Team has lost here and there to, just superior teams that just play, even if they're way less talented athletically.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the 92 team, they dominated, but they were not only far superior athletes, but I think that they actually did practice together a little bit more. And then they took it for granted in the subsequent years. And they had individual talents, but there was redundancy in the positions and there wasn't a cohesive style of play. And so teams that actually had division of labor, different players that would fit different roles.
Yeah.
And they worked as a cohesive unit, could exploit them and ended up defeating them.
Yeah, and that's what these Girl Scouts do in this show. I mean, it's not as obvious, but that's kind of what we're extrapolating what happened here.
It's a matter of what you practice, because even they, even though Average Joe's didn't practice, they had Patches O'Houlihan help them. That's how they're playing the plate based on what they're practicing for. Getting wrenches thrown.
Yeah, let's talk about those wrenches. I mean, I think you get clocked with one wrench and you're out if you're not dead, but you're out for a few weeks minimum.
Yeah, I think you're a little counterproductive throwing wrenches at your players there. You could definitely brain them pretty badly. But he does have the funniest line in the movie for me. I don't know if you each have a funny line that you want to share, but I'll share my funniest line of the movie, which I don't think you could get away with today. But at one point in the tournament, Patches goes, "It's like watching a couple of retards trying to fuck a doorknob out there." And that killed me. I was howling. Still great.
Patches probably has the best lines. I mean, really, because the other one that I like is, you gotta hump it into submission.
I did like how he was referring to Kate as a lesbian the whole time, or he'd call her a muff diver or whatever. And then after they win, her girlfriend shows up, and Vince Vaughn is like, "Oh, all disappointed." But then she says, "No, I'm bisexual." So perhaps this movie was actually ahead of its time.
Yeah. I mean, it's
but
fun.
Isn't there more than just two, now?
Yes, there are 73.
Yeah, so it's a little dated, but...
Oh, and I in terms of that, I would like you all to know that the Seattle Aquarium has bathrooms that are for all genders. So they're prepped for the future. Whenever the next 500 genders get invented, they're like, bring it on. We got it going. We're ready for you. All genders on our bathrooms.
So it doesn't say men and women or male and female. It says all genders.
Well, there are some that still say male, female, but there are specific ones that say all genders. So maybe they are still bigoted with those male, female ones, like your old racist grandma, but the other ones are all nice and progressive.
They're not quite inclusive enough.
Right.
They're
One day we'll all learn. One day we'll all learn progress.
Oh man, that's good stuff. All right, so this is another movie that Vince Vaughn was in that was a bit of a trendsetter in resurrecting something. Swingers, of course, he was in this breakthrough movie, and that heralded in swing dancing, a revival in swing dancing in the common culture. Like swing dance clubs were opening back up. I remember this back when I was in college. Like people would actually go and do swing dancing because of that movie. And after this movie, Dodgeball came out, there were even a dodgeball league that opened up, at least in Seattle. And I participated in this for a while.
And, okay, tell us how it went.
It did not go well because you know how they put the balls in the middle and they got the opposing teams and you race toward the balls in a collision path?
Yeah.
Well, I collided with some girl and knocked her out. And then I was the asshole.
Well, yeah, you're kind of monster.
Right, but yeah, I was just trying to get the ball. Anyway, but yeah, so Vince Vaughn seems to be on the forefront of reviving somewhat dead pastimes and hobbies. And I think
so with Brawl and Cell Block 99, he's reviving like prison murder. Is that what he's doing?
Street fighting. Yes, he's a street fighting man.
Okay.
Or
I see where you're going with this. I see. Okay, good.
Yeah, Wedding Crashers. I think that people actually did try to emulate that and actually start crashing weddings. Old school. Well, I guess if I went back to school at this age, I could relive that a little bit.
Reaching here a little bit, buddy.
Anyway, Vince Vaughn, he's a good guy. And let's talk about Vince Vaughn a little bit because he has been outed a little bit or identified himself as a libertarian of sorts. I believe I sent you an article, Robert, that talked about his credentials, or what's a better word to say this? It was a bit of a hit piece article. So it was like laying out his dirty details about
Well, I believe it was a Daily Mail. Was it a Daily Mail or
one of those British tabloidy type things?
The British type thing, yeah. And so I don't think they're super lefty. They're not going to look upon anything he does as favorable. Although it was kind of a little bit balanced in that they showed a bunch of reaction shots to him at that one Oscar show.
Yeah, Meryl Streep. This is like 2016, I think.
And he's just giving her that dead-eye stare.
Him and Mel.
Yeah, and Mel's like giving this weird look on his face. So it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, let's see. I've got it here. Vince Vaughn's Libertarian Views, which is like the little subhead. And it seems like it's like tabloidy, like, oh, listen to how evil this guy is. So it says, actor Vince Vaughn is rarely vocal about politics, but in an interview in 2015, he described himself as a libertarian, saying he liked the principles of forming a government built around the law. 3 years earlier, he publicly endorsed Republican Ron Paul in his bid to earn the presidential nomination, which Mitt Romney later won. He once appeared on stage with Paul, but rarely talks about politics, saying he doesn't want to be seen as a political activist. Vaughn has spoken out against gun control and in 2015 insisted guns should be allowed in U.S. schools, saying that banning them is like banishing forks to stop making people fat. However, he does appear to be a supporter of same-sex marriage after he was once quoted as saying that, quote, let people decide for themselves who they can marry, end quote.
So they don't understand?
As if those things can't be like together, like
this guy doesn't fit in this box we want to put him in. What? I thought he's supposed to fit in this conservative box. Get in there, Vince Vaughn. What is he doing? Talking about this liberal policy of letting people love who they want to love. What kind of horse shit is this?
all genders, 2 parties.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds.
Oh no, I just meant like you get you can choose all the genders you want, but you only get 2 options when it comes to budget.
Oh, right. Yeah. Very, very true.
Yeah, that is, yeah, that's really good. All right, what other notes do we have? We do have a little bit more time. I know there wasn't a whole lot going on in this movie. We could talk maybe about the sort of twist at the end. So Vince Vaughn gets offered to get bought out because I'll back up for a moment. They're playing the dodgeball tournament so that Vince Vaughn can pay off the mortgage, because if he doesn't pay off the mortgage, then White Goodman will buy it out from under him because of back taxes and something else with the mortgage, right? Like, it's all a little bit muddy, but basically if he doesn't come up with the 50 grand, White's going to buy the thing.
Yeah, he's got a big like balloon payment coming, or he's got to pay off a certain amount of his mortgage, and if he doesn't, he goes into default and it goes up for bid to whoever wants to buy it, and Goodman's got a bid already on the books. Something like that, as I understood it.
And after a few rounds of the tournament, the average Joes are actually pretty good, because Patches was a half-decent coach, if you don't count all the wrenches thrown and the funny one-liners that Rip Torn would throw out there. But then White offers Vaughn $100,000. And in the movie, it seems like I'm offering you $100,000 to either not play or to throw the match. But it's later revealed that no, the $100,000 was to buy the gym outright. And Vaughn had taken that money, and after his interaction with what's his bucket, Lance Armstrong, he's like, oh, I'm going to regret not doing this. So he places a bet 50-1 on his team to win. So he puts all that $100,000 on the bet for them to win, and they do win. In this very bold strategy, Cotton, they come up with $5 million instead of 50,000.
Right. And so then he takes that money and he supposedly buys controlling stock in Globo Gym
to run that into the ground.
To run it into the ground with his insane management.
To remove the one motivated manager that they had.
Right. The one guy that actually cared. Get out of here.
Hey, it's a system, and it's not perfect. Anarcho-capitalism.
Now, did either of you guys watch through the end credits? Because there's a little like Easter egg type scene at the very end.
When he's all fat?
Yeah, when he's all fat and he's singing the milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and he's like playing with his man boobies. It's pretty offensive, even to a jaded individual like myself.
Did you feel that he was body shaming?
Oh, he was definitely body shaming.
Oh man. Ben Stiller, he's a problematic individual.
What do you think, Tyler? Does Ben Stiller pass? I know a lot of people don't like Ben Stiller.
You know what? I'm going to say it's really a testament to him in this movie, because you know White Goodman, but you don't know Vince Vaughn off the top of your head. He is
the more engaging character. It's absolutely true. Yeah.
I mean, this was a high watermark.
Yeah, I mean, he's not like a classically trained, like a great actor, but he brings a certain je ne sais quoi to his roles that I can appreciate for sure.
Yeah. I do want to note, though, you were talking about how he's that textbook capitalist. Kind of going back to like CISA, I think the Truman Show episode, where sometimes these writers, they shade things a certain way, but as far as how the viewers chooses to see it, I mean, that can be because from what you guys brought up, he is a businessman, regardless of some of the grayer aspects. He is motivated. He runs a successful gym.
Yeah, he may be a terrible human being, but he cares about fitness, and that's what his customers seem to care about. So he wants a nice, clean, organized gym, and healthy people. And honestly, which gym would you rather use? I'd rather go to Globo Gym, far and away. I mean, you might find a more relaxed atmosphere over at Average Joe's, probably some cooler people, but these people are definitely not people that you want to hang around with if you are into getting fit. Like, you might want to go there and meet some friends for sure. But if you actually care about your body and you're like, hey, I have a limited amount of time and I want to get in shape, you're going to go to Globo Gym.
Yeah, some people go to Planet Fitness. Other people, go to CrossFit gyms.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an apt comparison, because the Globo Gym one is like more about motivating you, getting you to actually get some work done. And the other style is like, you're just kind of showing up to say you went to the gym and kind of hang out a little bit. And, oh yeah, I got a gym membership, but it's more of a social thing.
Yeah, which in a capitalistic world, there's room for all types. Hey, I mean, not so much for a guy that doesn't collect gym membership dues, but because that place is tanking and going out of business tomorrow. But
why don't you cram it up your cram hole there, Robert?
Maybe I will.
All right. Any other notes on this? I feel like we got a little bit more we can say somewhere on this.
I do want to note that they did kill that guy at the in the bar, and nobody did anything. So
Oh, the
He's
girl
not the best
throwing
guy.
the dodgeball.
yeah,
Yeah, and Whiteman or White Goodman shoves that waitress over, and then like Vince Vaughn gets the blame for it. But yeah, killing a guy, that's totally
Yeah.
wrong.
definitely violates the nap cotton.
Gonna need a new pair of shorts.
But he's definitely out. The guy that got hit in the head. He cannot play.
And White, he bumps into a bunch of people, right? Even during the dodgeball tournament, he's like bumped into people in the stands.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that would be paying the dick tax wherever he went. You would not want to be his friend. You would not want to hang out with this guy because even if he's not fully violating the nap all the time, he's acting in such a manner as to be repugnant.
Do you think he can do that because he almost has fuck you money?
I think he does for the time being, in the time being of this movie. But if he keeps it up, I mean, there's only so much he can take, right? Because you're going to go to Globo Gym and you're going to exercise. But if he is, his personality becomes so ridiculous and you actually interact with him, you're probably going to get turned off and you're going to want to go somewhere else. So he only succeeds in as much as he hides himself from his own client. I mean, although some people may be turned on by that and they may enjoy a very motivated, harsh kind of a trainer guy. But as you get to know him, like the main female lead in this movie was, and anybody else who just is around him for more than 5 minutes, I think you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go somewhere else. I want to get in shape, but I can't support this guy.
It is ultimately his downfall too, as he does because he burns so many bridges.
Yeah.
I mean, Kate's only on the team because he fired her. I mean, he got her job
Right.
taken away.
Yeah, and the moral of this story, I suppose, if it has one, is the nice guy ultimately wins because people like you and want to help you, as opposed to the dick who only has people around him because he can afford it, and ultimately people resent you. So yeah.
I would go with that. I mean, also not even just nice. It's about hard work because in the end, they all do their stuff to become a
and Vince Vaughn, he ultimately comes through for his friends despite wanting to quit, knowing they're going to lose.
Well, all right. I don't know if there's a whole lot more on this one. We could talk maybe a little about the Justin Long side story where he's got a crush on this girl and the guy that likes that girl makes it so during the tryouts he has to lift up and do a liberty stand with this very heavyset girl. So he sets him up to fail and has this very embarrassing situation. Now, I don't know if this was because I was watching the unrated cut or, the dirtier cut, but they actually show her with her crotch landing on his face.
Oh.
I don't know if that was in the normal theatrical cut.
I imagine there was probably something cut because, I just watched the unrated.
Didn't see it on DirecTV.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yeah,
sanitized for your viewing pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes, for your young, delicate eyes. So yeah, the embarrassing situation is the very heavy girl falls on his face, and it's a bit of a
sloppy pussy situation.
So, yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yeah,
tough shit. I say things.
All right, you can reprise the role of Patches O'Houlihan if they ever make a sequel, Robert.
Dude, everything I say will be looked upon in like 60 years' time as like horrific, if not sooner.
Oh, it's present day. It's horrific. So,
problematic.
We don't need to wait at all. But
I am a hate crime.
But the Justin Long guy, he ends up helping out the cheer squad because that guy that set him up to fail that year before, he ends up getting injured in a freak roller coasting accident in Las Vegas. And I don't know, like if this is like a really super relevant thing, but I think it just shows the integrity of the Justin Long character to like want to be helpful and also to impress that girl.
Sure. I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot of comments on this part of the movie. So if you guys want to run with this one, go for it.
There were only a few good background characters that I can think of. I mean, there's Stephen Root, but yeah.
Mail order bride. I thought that was good with him getting super angry because his mail order bride who hates him was talking up.
Yeah, openly getting fresh with all the men around her or whatever it was, some other dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of character growth happening with everybody. I mean, Steve the Pirate, no longer a pirate.
Yeah, I feel like Alan Tudyk's character, he was kind of wasted in this movie. Like he's just kind of this comical pirate guy, and then he sort of disappears at the the climax of the movie, then shows up at the end all dressed normal. And I don't know, the payoff really isn't that great, I think, for his character. Now, was he in there for, Firefly fans and whatnot? Was this supposed to be like an inside joke of some sort? with him being a pirate? Because it's kind of lost on me why he was a pirate.
I just figure he just, this free society, he chose to be a pirate.
He self-identified as a pirate.
Yeah.
Who are you to tell him you can't do that, Daniel? Come on, you son of a bitch. What are you, some sort of bigot? Anti-pirate bigot?
Arr, you matey.
Anti-pirateite?
And now I just appropriated.
It's anti-piratic.
I'm appropriating pirate culture. Well, what did you guys think about his Vince Vaughn offering him a 5-way split of the or however many players there were, an equal share of the prize?
I think it's going to turn into some sort of socialist nightmare. If they're all going to buy into the Globo Gem, and it's going to be some sort of, I don't know, 5-way operation.
It seems like, Vince Vaughn probably doesn't even want the full share anyway. His friends were running at the time. So, it's all voluntary. So why not?
It's true. Yeah, it could totally happen. They could be the 5 board members. I mean, it's nice of him. I mean, essentially that he's the one that was gambling all the money, but he recognized that, he wouldn't have done it without them. Wouldn't have happened.
I find it surprising that they would have been such underdogs in that final match with how well they had played in the prior matches. Don't you think that the Las Vegas bookies would have been far more, closer into relation to, how the probability of them actually winning?
They wheel the money out right after the tournament. Like
you got the payout like right away. Those bookies are the best bookies of all time. Here you go. As soon as it happens, I got the money right for you. In a custom pirate
chest. Yeah,
that pirate chest. It said something on it. It was like some Greek or some Latin phrase. Did you guys catch that?
No.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I'm gonna have to look it up.
Man, you
catching details.
I recommended the movie, and you went all the way in on.
Danny was like pausing it and getting out the magnifying glass.
All right, well, you guys talk amongst yourselves for a moment. I'm gonna try to find it.
Good luck with that. Good luck trying to find that on the internet.
I'm getting
dodgeball. Pirate chest.
Yeah,
with the Latin phrase. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of results on that one.
Yeah, I definitely, I just want to bring up that this was not my hill to die on, by analyzing the anarcho-capitalist society of dodgeball. But I just want to note that you can apply this model of thinking to pretty much every movie. I think we.
Oh man, we appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we always seem to find something to talk about for sure. If we can apply some kind of economics, even if it's in a completely, made up world.
Yeah, because no movie is art, and art is manifest in reality. So
what are some of your other films, Daniel? What are some of your favorite films?
Favorite films? I've been watching a lot of movies. Except for what they play out here. I'm a real big fan of Edgar Wright. Like a lot of Edgar Wright films.
Nice. We've done a couple of Edgar Wrights.
Yeah. Then I don't know. I've been a while.
Well, you're just too busy getting work done.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Staring at one screen. Make that money.
Listening to podcasts.
Well, someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
All right. I have an answer.
Do you?
Do
you? What is your phrase, sir?
The treasure chest says Deus ex machina.
Oh, okay. Well, that
makes
that's
almost zero sense, I guess.
No, because it's it's the God in the machine. The money, like the whole circumstance is absurd. That they're given $100,000 and that they bet it 50 to 1 and they get the money. It's the Deus ex machina of the film.
But the Deus ex machina usually refers to some kind of external force coming outside, outside of the protagonist coming in and saving the day.
Oh yeah, he's making it, but.
Well, according to my googly search, it says it's a plot device whereby a seemingly unsolvable problem in a story is suddenly and abruptly resolved by an unexpected and seemingly unlikely occurrence, typically so much as to seem contrived.
So kinda, yeah. I mean, I think that goes along with your 50 to 1 kind of thing. And all of a sudden the bookie's paying out instantly.
Just enough for 51 shares of Globo Gem?
Boom.
Yeah, 51%. That's all it takes. 51%.
Yeah, 51%.
And then they fire White, which I think is a huge mistake. I mean, White was running that thing pretty well. Even if he inherited the money from his parents, he didn't inherit, what it was worth today. He inherited, some seed money to get it started. And then he ran it well.
Yeah, he's clearly a driven individual, even if it was driven by a fear of being fat.
It's a big drive.
Yeah. Yeah. Hatred of your own body that can push people to do great things.
I remember he had the electrodes on his nipples and he was trying to associate donuts with getting shocked in the nipples to sort of make this.
That's intense, man. That's intense correlational therapy right there.
Yeah. Like a shock therapy, like a shock collar, like a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, he's intense, man. He's driven, dedicated. He just had to put points in his personality profile when he was leveling up. That's all he forgot to do. He's putting it all into strength and business.
All right, I agree. So I don't really have much more to say. So what do you guys think about getting into the final summaries and reviews?
Okay, as long as I can go first.
You can go first, and then Tyler, feel free to emulate.
No, do it way better than me. I just spit out a bunch of crap and then throw out a number. So I think you got to judge this movie on, as we are watching it today, as anyone can do it now, if the comedy still holds up. And there are a lot of comedies that don't. A lot of comedies where you watch the humor and you're just groaning these days. I don't know if the comedy gets stale, what, but this movie made me laugh multiple times. And even when it wasn't making me laugh, it was making me smile with its charm. Vince Vaughn is a charming actor. You just like him, and it has nothing to do with his politics. He's just got one of those personalities that is very affable and works well on screen. And a lot of the other characters in this film are the same way. And even when you're hating him, Ben Stiller is compelling. So I really enjoyed his character too. The plot is a bit basic, but you don't really go in caring so much about the plot. The plot just serves as a device for the comedy. It's just the skeleton on which you build comedic scenes, and as you're working on that treadmill. So this is a really fun movie for me. I appreciate the lines that have lived on, and this gets a 7.4, which is a high mark for this comedy. It's a comedy. It's not supposed to be like a fantastic, amazing film, but it achieves what it tries to do,
which is make money, which is what it did. So Tyler, your final summary and review.
I agree with Robert. You got to look at it for what I hate that we have to do that we have to consider the political climate whenever movie now, but even still it ages well. The characters each one of them has their own little mannerisms that are funny, and I'm not too big on Vince Vaughn, but I think this was his big time with Ben Stiller. I think this one of his better roles. The jokes, yeah, you're right, they stand, even if I don't remember the plot that much, but I think it's a testament to why Google has such a high rating for it, even though it's not rated great overall as a film, because you'll leave it and you'll laugh the entire time. So as far as score, I'm gonna go 7 out of 10.
Wow, all right, two guys with pretty high praise. I hope it didn't offend anyone calling you guys. So Dodgeball, for me, I do have fond memories of watching this in the theater. It was one of the first times I put my arm around a girl, so that was fun. I ended up joining a dodgeball league as a result of this film, and it's the plot conveniences are pretty much made clear, and now that we know what the treasure chest said at the end, it actually makes it rather funny that they throw that in there. But overall, I don't think it's a good movie in the wider aspect. Like the story isn't great, the acting isn't particularly great, but the sum of the parts, the parts not summed are better for me. Like the little very offensive things that Rip Torn would say. I think those were the standout, laugh out loud type moments. And the Jason Bateman and his color commentary with Gary Cole, I think was the other commentator. Their bits were really funny. I enjoy the GIFs that we find in Facebook and Twitter these days, but the movie just in general, not so great. The cameos were good. We had Shatner, we had Armstrong, Chuck Norris. Was there anyone else in there, Robert, that you recall?
Not that I recall. No, that sounds about right.
Okay, well, at least 4 or 5 different little cameos that were kind of fun. And then, of course, Patches O'Houlihan dies as a result of an Irish bar sign falling on him randomly. So, kind of fun, I guess. But like I said, overall, not like a complete film, not a great film, though they did make money and they did entertain. And Vince Vaughn is a charming and affable guy. I think that's kind of his shtick ever since Swingers. And then they did in the somewhat sequel to that in the movie called Made, he's sort of the opposite, where it's he dials that up to 11 just to become increasingly annoying. And so, but otherwise, it's Vince Vaughn is kind of the same in every movie. The Cell Block 99 that we mentioned earlier, I did watch that about a year ago, and it is kind of an interesting and fun movie. So maybe that can be one that we do in the future, Robert. But
maybe.
And my score on this will be a 6.0. So I'll be the low ball on this one as we went balls deep into Dodgeball on this episode of The Last Nighters, which is episode 67 of the show. You can find the show notes and more at lastnighters.com/67, what we're going to do next. And because Easter's is going to be the next week, that show is going to be on the Passion of the Christ. And we're going to introduce a special guest, the AnarchoChristian, for that one. So that should be a fair amount of fun to watch a very long movie that I believe the last half an hour of it is just the character of Jesus being tortured. So yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a long time since I've seen that film. I don't know if it's Mel Gibson's greatest film. I'm more of a preference for like Apocalypto, which isn't a flawless film either, but I really do appreciate that one. But yeah, this was kind of an iconic milestone kind of a movie. It was a big deal at the time. It made a lot of money. I think it was the highest grossing R-rated movie for a very long time.
I remember when it came out, it was rather controversial, and I never did go and see it. So I will be watching it for the very first time in preparation for our show next week.
Okay, well, that's exciting.
Is it one of those where you have to read the book before you watch the movie?
Yeah. 100%. Do your homework. We got to match it up to the source material.
Yeah, I don't know if we've got that kind of time. I think on our previous show, which was The Truman Show, we talked about some of the ways that you can help us out here, even if it's not monetarily on our Patreon. And the biggest thing is giving us reviews on iTunes, either on the or subscribe on YouTube or iTunes and give us a review. We actually have received in the past week or so at least 2 or 3 new reviews. So that's very helpful. That's going to help us get more exposure and be more highly recommended to other potential listeners. So we do appreciate that. And any final words, Tyler, before we say goodnight for the Last Nighters show?
No, I think we got it. I think we've delved far deeper into Dodgeball than most people.
All right. Well, Robert, any final words before we say goodnight?
No, we've gone far more than any sane person should ever talking about this movie. So let's move it along.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this episode of The Last Nighters. Show notes more at lastnighters.com/67. You can also find it at thelaunchpadmedia.com. Good night from last night.
In the early days of the internet, radical libertarians were scattered, lonely, and faceless. Without direction, they resigned to scour the web, sifting through content providers in a wasteland plagued by YouTube demonetization, Facebook jail, and covert internet censorship. But then, in 2017, the Libertarian Union was formed. Finally, the average Joe libertarian could find a thriving community of independent podcasters and content providers, all in one convenient location. At Libertarian Union, we'll always have the latest news, interviews, discussions, and even movie reviews. With hundreds of episodes and more added all the time, you'll always find something fresh at libertarianunion.com.